Germany has had special elections that are going on, and the movement is to the right. We're seeing a seismic shift all over the world. While Donald Trump is still sending seismic shifts through Europe, giving them indigestion, so much so that President Macron has had to run to the United States to try to get in on the deal. But you know what I found? I'm actually having to find some new digestive enzymes, and I've come up with now the Ancient Nutrition Digestive Enzyme, which is my new preference. You know why? Because when you take this, it breaks down the food that you're eating, it prevents the bloating, and it helps the body to process the nutrients in a way that makes you feel energized. But it's something curious about this week's promotion is that the rapid hydration drink is what goes with it. So you're doing the digestion, and then when you're on the go, you take this fuel and flow bundle because the hydration is able to actually give you the electrolytes that you need to maintain energy levels. It's like a liquid IV, and it literally just puts back into you the energy that you're looking for. So it's not just enough to have a cup of coffee. You need the hydration that comes with it. This bundle together is unique. The fuel and flow bundle for digestion with the meal, and then the hydration complement with it, the powder, and you put them in your purse, you put them in your briefcase, you take them to work with you. You'll be so happy you did because it's not something you just do at home. This is an on-the-go lifestyle. So I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/fuel and get your special 20% discount off what I'm doing this week, which is the enzymes and the hydration. You'll love it. What is the historic significance of what's happened in the elections in Europe? The snap elections in France that moved a bit more to the right. The German elections have done something rather interesting. The AfD party, which is called the Alternative for Deutschland, which is anti-immigration. It's the MAGA movement in Germany, which is slow going because the German people, well, they've gotten into a weird place. They're the most industrious economic powerhouse still in Europe. But the way that they've set up their political system, it's hard for any one party to have power. Ever since Hitler, they've been psychologically scrambled. Charlie Kirk put it, and I think he's absolutely right, that when you have guilt or shame over what you did with the Jews, for instance, the result is if you don't have a revelation of Christ and forgiveness, if you don't understand spiritual warfare and how demons do get a hold of institutions, and when they do, Frankenstein slides off the slab and starts freaking out the villagers. That's when a principality grabs a system. And communist China's that way and begins to cloak itself with the power to go after the people. Well, that happened in Germany. The problem is without a revelation of Jesus and forgiveness, the shame becomes unhealthy. And you go to extreme liberal leftism, which is like a tolerance of everything for fear of looking like you're intolerant. And the left has taken over a chunk of the sanity of the great German people. And Angela Merkel opened up the borders, feeling guilty for what they did to the Jews. Open the borders, let the refugees in. And boom, a flood came in of unassimilatable Muslim minorities that are now becoming a significant chunk of Europe, France, England, Germany. What's scary is they're unified in the countries that are not unified. So they're going to become more and more of a historic Islamic force shaping the European Union in its end-time form. Well, Germany lost its Christian revelation and out of guilt has given into liberal progressivism as a tolerance of everything and then realizes that doesn't work, does it? So the election is a response to the people pushing back against that movement and saying, no, we want borders. No, we want culture. No, we want to have fiscal discipline. No, we don't want to be spending our money in Ukraine. We need to build our own economy. So an old school conservative who's never held government just got elected to lead Europe's biggest economy, the Christian Democrat Union. And its sister party won 28.6% of the vote. And the guy, his name is Merz, Friedrich Merz, will be the next chancellor. And he's a little freaked out, quite frankly, by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, because Trump sent shockwaves across Europe when he began to push against, he started saying, I'm going to go for the peace negotiation directly with Putin and end this thing. And he's not doing it with all the European leaders sitting at the table. And so the AfD, which I told you is the Alternative for Deutschland, is actually our kind of party. They went from 10% to nearly 20%. So they doubled. And they grew to a very strong place. And their leadership wants a close relationship working with Trump and the administration. They said, a lady by the name of Weidel says, we're going to be very good partners and able to have serious, proper conversations. Speaking to reporters on Monday, Weidel said she missed overnight calls from America, including Elon Musk. When I turned on my phone this morning, there were calls from the U.S., including Elon, congratulating me personally. So we have friends that are forming in the populist movement of the Reformation, that is the awakening, that is in the formation of sheep nations, and even historic Germany may be able to turn the corner. The home of the Protestant Reformation may have a Reformation yet. Of the 60 million Germans eligible to vote, 82.5% cast their ballot. They're politically engaged. But I have a quote somewhere here I want to get you. I'm sorry for breaking eye contact with you. I got lectured on that by my staff. Don't break eye contact, but I can't read. Anyway, the guy, Mers, he said we've got to decouple. I wanted to find that quote, but I can't find it here. We have to decouple from the United States. So now it's interesting. The Christian Democrat Union, which has to work with the new AfD, they're not getting along regarding Trump. One side says, I like America. The other side says, we got to get away from America. You know why? Because J.D. Vance called out their censorship. He said, you guys are drifting from your values about freedom, and you're becoming authoritarian in the wrong way. You're shutting down freedom of opinion and censoring your own people. I think that's an interesting development, don't you? So the movement in Germany is those two coalition conservative parties have to work together. The good news is they will never fund now more war with Ukraine. Trump has the advantage as a result because by having the majority, those two parties, they'll never have enough votes. Now with the Alternative for Deutschland in power, they're not going to be able to fund the war anymore. Wow. So you're getting your update there. Let's go back to the battle in the United States. Speaking of Elon calling her, I love how Elon is kind of like President Trump. These guys are ubiquitous. They're everywhere all at the same time. Elon Musk announces, put an image 3 up, will you, studio? Announces that all federal employees who did not respond to email asking what they got done last week will be terminated. Well, you know, what he's doing is he's basically calling the bluff of all these people that are supposedly employed that don't work in government. There's some 2 million people employed by government, federal government, I think. And I want you to take a look at image 4, Elon's message. Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information or links. You don't send any nuclear codes to the boss, but just tell us, what did you do? All he's saying is, give me 5 things you did, forcing people to think in terms of 5 things they did. It's not a bad idea, actually. I think it'd be a good practice for all business. Donald Trump gave a meme he posted in terms of what he thinks they're going to send in. And got done last week. I cried about Trump. I cried about Elon. I made it into the office for once. I read some emails. I cried about Trump and Elon some more. And so, Trump is behind this. This is one great thing about what's happening in our government. These guys know that fraud and waste and inefficiency, like as businessmen, you got 2 business guys, 2 billionaires who didn't make their money off the government. They made it off of entrepreneurial wit. And so they're saying you can't run a business, can't run a government this way. But the reality is the movement that's taking place now in terms of government efficiency. You know, here's how the interconnected parts go. Trump still has 10 million people we're paying for in the United States that are not, that from schools to medical to food to housing to shelter. We've got him here, and he's saying we've got to get the Biden 10 million that came in here out because they're competing. They'll work under the table. They'll compete for wages. And they got a big problem here. They will compete with jobs. And they're going to make it hard for the middle class and the working class to be able to even survive. But you have to play a little bit of Benny Johnson stumbles upon an Elon protest. And you'll hear in the streets, what is the logic of the average street protester on who Elon is? Here's a guy that is like Dan Bongino, leaving behind his business opportunities in order to serve the country, to expose the fraud and the waste so that the government can survive, so that guys like him and people like you that he represents can have a business in the future and not a collapsed economy. So here's what Benny Johnson stumbled upon at the Elon protest. Play video 6.
Elon Musk were here right now. What would you tell him?
Go back where you come from.
America or
Where he came from.
South Africa?
South Africa?
South Africa, right?
Oh, gotta go.
Go
Back to South Africa where he belongs.
Go back to South Africa.
Go back to South Africa. He's not a citizen. He came here illegally and stayed, then got citizenship, I believe.
So go back to Africa.
Go back to Africa.
What would you tell him?
He's an unelected, greedy, selfish bastard. And please go away. Nobody elected him. Nobody voted for him. We don't want him. He's a racist and he's a Nazi. This is not what America is about.
You said to go away.
Yeah.
Where would you like him to go?
Go back to South Africa. His grandfather left Canada to specifically go to South Africa because he loved the racist policies of South Africa. Go back to South Africa.
Go back to
Africa. As an immigrant, telling another immigrant, go back to where he came from, because I am not trying to change America for the worse. I'm not a greedy, selfish person wanting to take everything for myself. Somebody who has $404 billion is going to go into Social Security and tell my grandfather or my disabled cousin that $800 a month is too much, and you have $404 billion that you will never spend in your lifetime.
Well, folks, that tells you there's an informed public out there. And Benny was very kind. He could have asked, so you are for the deporting of everyone in America that's illegal and shouldn't be here, I assume, because I guarantee that crowd there has all the leftist talking points for the wrong reasons. But she's wearing, by the way, I think my son told me, she's wearing a hat which celebrates the shooting of that CEO from the insurance company. So that's another interesting segment there you missed. Let's go ahead to video 7. Elon says at CPAC that Doge dividend checks might be the real deal, Lucille. Check it out.
It's the bureaucracy.
That's exactly right. Let's talk about these Doge dividend checks that everybody's talking about this week. And I know you tweeted out that you're gonna. Does everybody want like a $5,000 check in the mail? It sounds kind of good, right? And the best part about it would be knowing where it came from. That's $5,000 that you sent them last year.
Totally. It's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country, and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome.
Does it seem? I mean, have you talked?
I mean, that's like glorious. That's like the spoils of battle, you know.
Spoils of battle. I like that. Is there traction on that?
Yeah. So I talked to the president, and he's supportive of that, and so it sounds like that's something we're going to do.
Yep.
So as we're finding savings, that's going to translate directly to reductions in tax. So.
Yeah.
Well, you have to ask yourself, what would you rather see? I'm curious about your comments. Would you rather see $5,000 or $4,000, $3,000 come back to you? Do you think it's going to have an effect on Americans, on their view of what's happening? Or would you rather see it go to pay down the national debt? I'm curious about that, what your thoughts are. There's so much on Elon that you guys sent me stuff that's jumping all over here because I see I've got some more Germany stuff. I wish I'd shared with the audience earlier. Javier Milei meets with Elon Musk and gives him the chainsaw of bureaucracy. You know, the guy ran for president, right, with a chainsaw, showing he was going to cut. And now Argentina, for the first time in history, is out of debt. And is actually, the government is no longer in debt. And they're actually becoming a profitable sheep nation, a nation which has its own sovereignty, its own identity, its own freedom of religion, and is economically self-sustained. So I'm always running into Javier Milei at all the Mar-a-Lago events. He's quite a character. He loves Trump. He comes up. He's like Elon. He hangs out there so much. But let's go ahead and show the chainsaw. Do a video 11. Elon shows off the chainsaw at CPAC.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
Well, you could see how this is going to rile up the left if they really believe that he's $400 billion going after your grandpa's Social Security check. But he's actually coming after the fraud and the waste. And that's what makes it such a pleasure. I'll tell you what I want to do. I've got something here that I think is going to be enlightening for us. You know, the Joy Reid, who has always been such an irritant, has gotten her program taken off. I don't know if that's an answer to prayer or what, but I got a theory on this. We come back in a second. I want to talk to you about that.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Go to mypillow.com and use promo code Lance to save big on all of Mike's best products. That's promo code Lance.
So put up image 20, Joy Reid, who is, she's just so painful to listen to. Anytime you listen to her, really, the ratings were bad enough, I suppose. Now, what happened was Comcast decoupled from, or somehow there was a financial decoupling of the corporation from MSNBC. So they had to reorganize with new leadership in order to try to get the programmings more effective. They're going to switch out her with Jen Psaki. But, you know, I'm of the opinion that James Carville had it right. James Carville said that if the Democrats don't stop having these mouthy, obnoxious, talking down to you, shrill female voices, whether it's the squad with Ocasio-Cortez, or whether it's Joy Reid, or whether it's going to be The View or Rachel Maddow, that the danger for Carville, looking at the effect it has on their Democrat voters, is it's alienating the male vote. Now think about this. It's an interesting piece of psychology. African-American males are voted like 35, 40% for Trump, 30%, which is like double any other Republican. And it's the Latino, Hispanic male votes up in the 40s now, 40%, 46%. And what these were traditionally reliable Democrat votes. And what Carville's saying is your most aggressive and shrill voices out there are beaten up on people, and the men identify differently as they're hearing this. They're not identifying it as Democrats. They're listening to it as men, and they don't necessarily, they're turned off by what they're hearing. So they got a problem because they're going to put Jen Psaki in. I mean, it's curious in a way to watch how people who don't know what they're doing solve the problem the wrong way. So they're going to find another woman who's going to say offensive things. Meanwhile, I want to talk about Image 19. Will you guys go there? Let me see if I got it in here. This is what Trump is doing. If you want to know how brilliantly he's playing the media moment that he's got, deporting immigrants who are illegally here and committing crimes, 81% of Americans support it. Can you imagine 19% of Americans are against deporting criminals who are here illegally committing crimes? You have to basically write off 20% of America as being nut jobs. Undertaking a full-scale effort to find and eliminate fraud and waste in government. 76% say do it. Nearly 25%, no, let the fraud and waste continue, which tells you 25% of Americans are making money off of fraud and waste, or they think they're advantaged by it. Closing the border with added security, 76% of Americans are behind it. Banning men who have undergone operations and hormones to become women from competing against women in female sports. 30% are still wokeified, and it's largely, I think, young people that have been propagandized on campuses. But almost 70% say, yeah, get the guys out of the girls' sports, even if they think they're girls. Declaring that there are only two genders, male and female, 68% say, thank God somebody finally said it. 32% say, yeah, but what if I feel like a woman? Eliminating all preferences by race in hiring and awarding of government contracts. Get the race out and let competency be coming in. 65% of Americans are for that. So what we're looking at here, folks, is that Trump is going strong on issues that somehow we've succeeded in creating public persuasion on, where they're in agreement with him. And I think that's a huge, powerful piece forward, because it just goes to show that we're winning. They're winning the battle. And you know what's happened is the traditional sources of information, the legacy news, from the New York Times to the Washington Post, the LA Times, still leftist, still distorted, but they don't have the power that a Rumble has, or that Real America's Voice has, or that the voices that you're listening to in various podcasts like this, Flashpoint and my friends. We have a collective kind of way of they can get access to information that resonates with what they know to be true, and it's working its way outside the controlled labyrinth of the left. And with U.S. aid exposed as funding, like government-funded NPR and government-funded the Kennedy Center, Trump's going after these government-funded oracles as well. And you know, what's her name out there in Arizona? Carrie Lake is taking over the Voice of America, isn't that it? Which is the one entity is funded, which will now have a positive voice for America, speaking to the world. So MSNBC cancels Joy Reid, and I say that it's part of a larger shakeup, because the reality is that the American people are onto the game, and they know what's going on. By the way, James Carville, why do I go back to him? He's so annoying. Mercedes, we're glad to see you're back.
Hey, happy to be back.
I've been doing a whole show here. I turned to my co-host.
Sorry.
And not even sitting there the whole time.
My bad.
I look at you right now, and you're back. It's like, the rapture. I thought you left.
No worries. That hasn't happened. Still here.
I'm relieved to see that. We weren't left behind.
You know who would be left behind? Back to James Carville.
Back to James Carville.
Oh,
he
sad.
predicted President Donald Trump's White House team will collapse in less than a month. This is the same guy that predicted that Harris was going to win the election. But he's saying it's because of the multitude of executive orders and the firing of thousands of government officials, and that he believes that there's going to be a collapse, that Trump's popularity is going to implode. I'll tell you something. There's a very good possibility that he's been surprisingly popular with the American people. I think he's doing a brilliant job of picking the right subjects and being the media voice for what he's speaking clearly. It's not like he's operating behind a veil of mystery. People know where he's coming from. But I do think there's a risk. The tariffs are going to work, but Americans have got to temper themselves to realize that when you're putting a tariff on a country that's had a tariff on you, it can create some discomfort until the thing equalizes. Mm-hmm. There's going to be negative press about the deportation because I guarantee the left is going to create some sensationalized, selected story of a tragic deportation story of someone who's being sent back to a country that they escaped for sanctuary from, and they're going to be persecuted when they go back. They're not going to be covering the cartels, the sex trade stuff, and the only thing I can think of, and Trump can't use it at the right time because what he really needs is to distract with other news, such as the Kennedy assassination files. And the Martin Luther King files and the Epstein list, which is all on Pam Bondi's desk right now. I mean, it's a very curious moment we're in, but that would be the right way to interrupt and jam. But Trump's genius at interrupting news cycles.
He is.
But I want to say, I've got 1 minute left. I don't want you guys to miss the global Game of Thrones that's going on now. China's been strangely silent because they're trying to figure out how to reposition themselves in this new era of Trump aggression with his economic policy. Trump knows how to use America's power, unlike any other president. Colombia said, you're not sending those people back here. Day later, okay, you can send them. Venezuela, you're not sending them here. Day later, okay, you can send them. Whatever Trump's negotiators are telling these people, they're all within 24 hours saying, well, okay, maybe we can get along. Mario Murillo, my friend, says something which is so quotable. He said, Trump understands the military power of a superpower. He understands the economic power of a superpower. He's the only president we ever had that actually uses that power for the sake of America instead of being bullied and pushed around and compromised by other countries. And he said, it's time that the church, the people of God that prayed him in, that are the secret sauce behind this moment, that have been earnestly laboring, the faceless and nameless mass of the 40% that actually became the MAGA movement at a grassroots level, that are in the school boards, that are in the towns, that are paying their taxes, that are supporting, that are finding alternative media and creating new business enterprise. So it's time they understood the power they have. You have power you're not using. And I believe as an interesting statement that's worth thinking about. The church has power. We're going to have to show up in this battle and the Game of Thrones, and we have to show up smart, and we have to show up supporting the truth. And our hour is about to come because Reformation, America's never had a Reformation. It's had revivals. It's had awakenings. We've never had a Reformation. Europe's had them. So we're going to navigate a Reformation is an institutional transformation. A revival is a personal community awakening of spirituality. That's what we've always had because our institutions were primarily healthy. And now we have unhealthy institutions needing reform. And it's a different battle. We've never done a Reformation, but we're doing it now. And Mercedes, we wrote on this. We wrote on it in God's Chaos Candidate, and I put it out with
God's
Trump
Chaos
on the
Code.
cover in 2020. Even though he wasn't going to be in office, I knew he would still be God's aid. God showed me the cover, and he said, put these books on the cover with the flag burning. Put this man there. Mm-hmm. He's going to be there for this era of transformation. And we're going to talk about Reformation in the book. I said, America's had a stalled Reformation. It's got to happen. It's happening now. And Sheep Nation is going to be not just for the United States, but Trump was put in office by God for the sake of the nations, not just the United States.
Amen.
So there's something happening here. By the way, you can get the book still. It's on Amazon.
Go to godschaoscode.com and you can get it there. Check it out. It's more prophetic now than it was.
It is. I mean, it's a 10-year geopolitical economic analysis of where we are going. Written in 2020. Haven't felt like I have to write something since then. Everybody's popping out books every year. I envy my friends that are doing books every 6 months. I just write them for 5-year periods because I'm a seer in terms of geopolitical stuff and economics, and that's where we're going. So don't need to write what I already wrote. That's going to be today. And tomorrow, I didn't get a chance to really talk to you about what I wanted to talk about, which was, I got to explain this, how the voting in Europe is an awakening that is expanding globally because doors are opening to other countries. And I'm going to be in Israel next week, I think. And I'll be broadcasting from Israel, talking about what is shifting right there in the Middle East as we enter this new era of the Cyrus era of rulers. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate